varies,
but I don't know if it's without some proof.
Okay, hey everybody, we're live.
Sort of.
Yeah, we're live. This is Guitar Talk from Gary's Guitars here in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Beautiful spring-like weather is almost over, and
It's supposed to be a little better tomorrow.
humidifiers are running, so the heat's on.
Oh, did you plug them in?
Yeah, got them going. So
got mine going at home.
we do the little bit of the humidifier reminder again, because
if you have one, fill it up and turn it on.
Yeah, time to turn on the humidifier, start taking care of. We went from being we went from dehumidifying to now having to humidify in a week. So, anyway,
days.
Guitar Talk. We talk about guitars and anything to do with guitars, including humidity.
Right.
This is Gary. I'm Mark. What we say at the beginning of the show is the regular. Anyone's out there, just chime in and say hi, because we just want to know there's people out there. There's hundreds of people who watch this and tens of people who actually say hi. So
yeah, well,
so it's a thing.
I'd take that as a compliment.
Yeah, so they're not objecting to us too much if they don't say much. Paul, Rodrigo, Michael is there from glorious Haverhill, Mass. Slightly sarcastic tone. Haverhill's coming into it now. People digging Haverhill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good club there. What's it called?
The Chit Chat? That's
Chit Chat.
not the one. Do you think that's a good club?
Well, it's a club and
it's in Haverhill, yeah. And they don't tell you to turn down.
I had a couple of good gigs there.
Yeah, no, I did years ago.
Yeah, it's back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But.
So then what? Oh, I have a urban renewal plan for Haverhill. Tear down that damn parking garage if you haven't already. And just do something in the downtown.
I don't remember ever being there during the day. So
Robert Bennett is in Rollinsford. We know he was in the store yesterday. How you doing?
Yeah.
Rollinsford's not that far away, and that's a cool little town.
It is.
Yeah. Always tucked away, you know. That's the cool thing about it. It's near to everything and yet kind of secret. There's no highway or road that goes there.
Good little cafe there.
I think they closed.
The Black Bean?
Yeah, Black Bean may have closed.
Oh, they're gone? Oh.
Yeah. Chris Lammy's out there. They're turning down the garage soon. Okay. East Bay Barry's here. Thank you for saying hi, everybody. And of course, we have a discussion about guitars. You can ask questions. You can add answers. You can add to the answers. We can ask you the questions. It goes all sorts of ways around here. So it's just a discussion. So while we kick off and people are dusting off everything, hungry in the house, hungry for more. While we're doing that, any topics?
I'll raise it as a question.
Okay.
Because I have no proof yet, really, but I'm developing a theory that some modern, probably lower end Gibson Les Pauls, but made in the United States, actually have some Asian parts in them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That are not high quality.
We just changed that switch on David's guitar there.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah,
it said Switchcraft on it.
It said Switchcraft on it, but
I got a new Switchcraft switch that we've always gotten them, and noticeably different quality.
They're not
then this one, you're just ordering a pickup for the guy, fairly new Les Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Pickup died. Took it out. Looked at the bottom. Obviously, not a Gibson-made pickup. Really, cheap plate on the bottom.
Yeah. It just looks like
none of the modern 4 solder points, and like just about half an hour ago, I was thinking, I bet they're using cheap parts on those expensive guitars now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I mentioned this in reference to Fender, but just because your guitar is made in the USA doesn't mean it's made of American parts.
Right.
In Fender's case, they use their Mexican factory to supply parts to the U.S. factory, but their hardware, I think, all comes from Korea.
Yeah, and that's fine, but there is still bad Asian hardware.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
Gibson found it.
Trying to save a few too many pennies.
Yeah, maybe. I have been a little less than impressed with a couple things.
Actually, the Switchcraft switch that I took out of the guitar, my thought was, maybe this is one of those bootleg ones.
Yeah, like a bootleg guitar. Yeah, because there were bootleg Gibsons.
Got nothing to do with Switchcraft.
Yeah.
So, So if anybody's had that experience, I'd be interested to hear.
Yeah.
I'll start be more on the lookout for.
Yeah. Anyone have recent Les Pauls? Of course, we know the auto tuning debacle.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Still taking those off guitars for people.
Yeah.
And to follow up
One
on
second.
that switch repair,
Yeah.
put in a new switchcraft switch for the guy. Worked fine for me. He took it home. Worked fine for him for a couple of days. Then it was starting to cut out again. He brought it back.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Pulled the switch out. It's working fine. I got magnifying glass out. I could see the contacts contacting. And then, well, let's check the other end. So I took the control plate cover off. It's got a PC board.
Yeah.
So everything's plugged in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just started pushing on all the plugs and wiggling everything. Started working. I had I played with it off and on, probably switched it 100 times over 20 minutes.
No.
Never failed. So I said, well, it's working now. I can't get it to fail, but if it fails again, I recommend we take all that out, solder all the wires in the way we're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So another corner cutting thing.
Yeah, that is. What do you folks think of putting printed circuit boards in guitars? Margaret in Florida is here. Answer the phone. I need some pics. Okay. That's what Chris Lammy said there. Hey guys, I bought 2 amps. I got a 10G Fender Frontman and a Katana 50. So the Fender Frontman, the 10 watt probably,
Yeah.
At a garage sale, both for 100. So you got them both for 100. That's good.
Yeah, you paid the right price for the front man, and you got a wicked deal on the
Yeah,
Katana.
you got a Katana for free because those we sell used for $250 probably, or maybe more. I think they're $350
I
new.
haven't seen that many. People
Could
like them and hang on to them. But.
Yeah, they don't come in used much. They're a fun little amp for just. They're kind of. We got a quilter in the store. I'd kind of put it on a par with the quilter almost.
Maybe quilter seemed a little more solidly built to me, but.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a good deal. Let's see here. William and Stratum says hi. Chris Paul. Henry's here. Hey guys, do you have particular thoughts or opinions on Guild guitars from the Westerly, Rhode Island?
Best guitar I ever played, acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
I think it was a 58, 57, D35 or 40 or something like that. Where did I get that? I bought it somewhere. $300. I remember that. At the time, this was probably in the early 80s.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. And then I traded it for a fretless P bass. And
that you hated.
Got another acoustic, and then within a month I was back at the store. You still got that Guild? I want it back. Oh, that got sold.
Yeah. The one that got away.
It's been in my head ever since that's the best Dreadnought acoustic I ever played.
Yeah, so some of them are exceptional.
Yeah.
They all need neck resets. If they haven't had them, they did a lot of this thing, and we talked about this before. But the body doing a little collapse.
I think that's mostly their B25s and Mike Endicott, if Mike's there. I'll quote him.
We had that great Guild that we had the neck reset done on and sold. Remember that? What was that one? It was a 64.
It was a higher.
Yeah, it was a nicer one.
50 or D50 or something.
Yeah.
But Mike used to call them the Heaven or Hell guitars.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
So they were originally made in Rhode Island? Or they were originally made? No, they're originally made in New Jersey. Yes.
Yes.
They went from Brooklyn, New Jersey to Rhode Island. And then to Connecticut? Or did they stay in Rhode
they're
Island?
in Westerly until Fender bought them.
So Fender bought them.
So I remember the Fender saying, "Oh, don't worry, we won't change a thing. We're going to keep the Westerly plant." And then a year later, it was gone.
Although I did talk to someone from Fender, and he said that buying the company triggered an EPA evaluation of the factory.
Oops.
And that was it. And they did $2 million worth of work so they just had to walk away from the factory.
Right.
And then after that, they didn't know what to do with Guild. And they did the Asian production. Then they did the U.S. They did the Bozeman, maybe Montana, one of those plants.
The Guilds?
Guild were made in Bozeman was Gibson.
No, they were made in Corona.
No, but then made in Corona shortly. But they also used a legacy factory that they bought out west. Fender.
Oh, did they? Oh,
they bought maybe it was one in Oregon or Washington State.
They owned the Sun Amplifier plant.
Someone fill us in here if you can.
Well, when I was a kid learning to play guitar,
Hoboken first, yeah.
Guilds were the poor man's Martin. Martins were the best.
Yeah.
Gibson, we didn't know anything about. And if you couldn't afford a Martin,
Yeah,
and you wanted a little better than a Harmony, you got a Guild.
Good.
And that seemed to work. So until they left Westerly, I think they're one of the great guitars.
So that Guild parlor guitar, which was a New Jersey made one that we'd sold here a couple of years ago.
M20 or something.
That was a great guitar.
Yeah. Well, there's Becky's left-handed M20.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's gonna leave to me. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
One of us, if I do outlive her.
64 or something. Yeah. It's a great little guitar.
Yeah, she comes in for restrings and she just taunts me with it, or
Right.
Let's see here. Hoboken first, yeah. I have a D25M from '76 that's been with me for 35 plus years.
Yeah.
I have an awesome Guild Electric. This is Chris Limey, a '63 with a kickstand. Yeah, we sold one of those here.
The kickstands.
Best 12-string ever was a beat to death 65 Guild I worked on. Perfect top, perfect neck set.
Is that Mike?
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, there were two, the 212 and the 412. If I remember right, I think the 212 was the winner. It was probably mahogany, and the 412 was rosewood or something. But yeah, for a long time, and maybe still, those are the best acoustic 12s.
I also had an early 80s Gibson 12-string that needed work on the bridge and top. Yeah, so what happens is, and I can pull one out and show them to people and talk about it. Because we have that Guild, Michael's old Guild here.
We do?
You see that? No.
Oh, is that the one? Oh, that's Michael's?
That's the one that was Michael's old Guild. All right, I brought it up. Hold on.
It's a little shabby looking. Has the original magnetic pickup. And then
disconnected.
I guess that died, and he put in a sound hole pickup, and now that's not working. But...
No, there's a under the saddle pickup.
Yeah, no, I said sound hole. But yeah, it still sounds good. Plays okay.
It actually plays fine, despite the fact it's degraded. But sometimes when acoustic guitars degrade, they degrade in just the right way.
It's a D40 electric, so this is the stock pickup with volume and tone.
Yeah.
And for some reason, probably the pickup's dead because the wire's gone.
Yeah.
But
so
plenty of sound.
This one doesn't need a neck reset, only because. So what happens is the necks cock themselves this way over time, especially on Guilds. It just really seems to happen. Depends on some design things. Maybe this big thing just becomes a fulcrum point here to yank the guitar.
It's a lot of heel.
So that happens, and usually they need a neck reset. But this one also has a fallen top, and that made up for the neck being at the wrong angle. And so it's all right. And it's been like this since the 90s, because I've known this guitar since the 90s.
I remember when that pickup worked. When I first saw it was working.
Yeah, I think he just disconnected because he didn't like it. That was the 90s when everyone wanted this belonged to Duke Levine.
Oh, is that where you got it? Huh.
Yeah. So it's got what do we call it? Provenance or something? What do you call that?
No, it's history.
History.
No provenance unless there's a picture.
Oh yeah, exactly. There's no picture. There might be because he was 12 when he owned it, right? So this will be for sale soon here at Gary's Guitars.
How much?
But this has the I have to tell you in a bit when I find out, because you said this pickup doesn't work, and I thought it did.
Oh,
so.
Well, I plugged it in for a guy on Saturday you had told him about it. He came in to try it.
Oh,
and he liked it a lot.
Maybe the battery's dead.
I don't know.
All right. Anyhow, so this is what happens. You get bridge rotation forward a little bit. You get a little sinking in the top. You get the neck coming this way. All very common things on an older guitar, but Guilds just do it a little more often.
As Chris Pern was famous for saying, a guitar builder, his main goal in building an acoustic guitar is to keep the neck and the bridge from diving into the hole.
Yes.
That's where they want to go.
That's where they want to go. There's a hole in your guitar.
Right in there.
Yeah. I'm catch up with the room
yeah,
here.
That's collapsed a bit.
That's wild looking with the controls. 2 wrongs do make a right. Yeah. Seems like a big sound. Very cool. No belly bulge. Less of the belly bulge. If it did, it wouldn't play quite right.
Right. No, the top was minor belly.
Yeah, it just
But
has that
definitely
little dive
caving
in the
in.
middle. Yeah, which
Probably stay there forever.
yeah. So, and did you know Buzzy Levine? That's his brother, Buzzy from Lark Street Music. One of the legendary stores. That was his brother. Yeah.
Oh.
I think he may have passed away. I don't mean to write anyone's obituary who's not gone, but he might have passed away.
That was in New York City?
It was in New York City, but then he moved upstate but he's one of he used to buy a Page and Guitar collector magazines and have all the inventory in it.
Oh.
Yeah. Lark Street. They always had ads.
Never went, but I'd heard of it.
Yeah.
Last time I asked some guys from the city who were in the store, what's a good guitar store in New York now? They said, not much.
So I went down on a guitar. I went to New York on a guitar adventure, a safari.
Recently?
No, right before I bought this guitar store. I'm like, well, I should go look at other guitar stores. And I was in New York. And I went to 8 of them, of which 3 were cool.
Yeah. Was one like 40th Street, 42nd?
Well, they're all like 33rd, 31st, 33rd. In that area used to be where there were like a lot of guitar stores. Rudy's is the most impressive. It's just beautiful.
Rudy's still there?
Yeah, he's not giving up. Definitely, but not like the old days of like going down to New York and you just like
go to
probably 42nd.
42nd.
Anyways, just music stores up and down.
Sam Ash, We Buy Guitars, Rudy's?
48th Street.
48.
It's all clothing and coffee shops now.
Yeah.
But the independent stores are getting fewer and fewer every day.
Right.
So what do? You buy them on Amazon, which, by the way, don't buy a guitar on Amazon. No.
I try not to buy anything on Amazon.
I do use them once in a while, but still. All right, let's catch up with the room. Yeah, most retail is clothing now, not just
clothing, coffee.
You go into a mall, like every once in a while I get dragged into a mall. It used to be like, okay, I'm in a mall, I'll go to Radio Shack, I'll go to, a record store, Sam Goody or something. There's nothing. Clothes. I obviously don't like clothes. I don't care how I look. As a matter of fact, for those of you who watched a bunch of these shows, you might go like, man, that guy's always wearing the same shirt. I'm not. I actually have just six versions of 6 shirts.
It is the same shirt, just you got 6 of them.
Yeah, so I just have like a bunch of the same, because when I find a shirt I like the looks and fit of, I just buy a bunch of them, not 6 of everyone, but so I have multiples of shirts because that's how little I care about fashion. I got to visit Manny's when I was a kid. Yeah, that's a kid in the candy store right there. Yeah. So let's not eulogize guitar stores right now, though. That's it. Might get too sad.
It's old news.
There's that too. Yeah, we know this is a trend in retail all over. We're bucking the trend here, just trying to have a guitar store where people can try guitars. We had someone come and buy a guitar this afternoon. He tried 6 or 8 guitars in rapid succession, and he found the one he liked and bought it. So
always a Christmas present for his daughter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So our first Christmas sale as well. So that's one advantage to buying in stores. But and he was appreciative of the information we're giving out, so that's good too.
Yeah, that's the advantage of the little stores. Usually, people that work there know what they're talking about.
JJ UK is in London saying hi. There's good guitar stores in London. I went to do a few last time I was there. They're all overpriced though. But now that the pound is doing so badly, maybe they're not overpriced anymore.
Is that a big chain? Are they in London too, or are they just in Europe?
Tallman? Nope. No. Tallman. Does Tallman have a store in London? Tallman. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there's definitely a nice little ecosystem of guitar stores. It's just I was unable to buy anything. I did the old so we went on a tour of the UK, and I brought my keyboard and I just ordered the stand and all the accessories I needed from Tallman and had delivered to the drummer's house.
Oh,
and it showed up and there it was. So I got to admit that's the old Amazon or Guitar Center trick. Germany, yeah, they're a German company,
Right.
but they might have. I think they have actual retail stores as well all
I
over
don't know.
Europe. Yeah. And that's it. So, by the way, when everyone's like, "Oh, what if Guitar Center goes out of business?" If Guitar Center goes out of business, and Tommen decides to come into the U.S., they will slay everybody because they actually give good customer service.
Right. Yeah,
And that's
great
the one thing
reputation.
where so the one thing that really keeps us few independent stores functioning is the fact that 50% of the customers come in here because like, oh, I went to Guitar Center, they didn't know anything, or oh, they
I think there's a really early Rick Beato where he tours a Tolman store.
Yeah.
And it's like 5 Guitar Centers in one building.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay, on this floor, which is
Yeah.
like a factory, is the drum floor.
Yeah, that must have been the
Okay, there's 4,000 drum sets here. And on this floor is the violin floor, and
Yeah.
whatever. They had everything.
Yeah, it's also a privately owned company.
Right.
It's like Sweetwater, but Europe. Just one store in Germany. Okay, so they
Was
just
only
had the one
I thought they
store.
were a
Yeah.
chain.
No, I thought they had more retail stores than that. I thought they had a few, like in big capital cities. But yes, it's mail order, except they do exceptional service, unlike Sweetwater. But Sweetwater does a lot of. They have old fashioned salesmen. Who don't bother me so much. So they kind of assign you a salesman, and then you gotta they call you up like, hey, I got one of those amps you wanted, and I got it cheap. When they have to make sales, they kind of reach out to you and stuff, and I can appreciate that a bit, but. Andertons, Andertons is a cool big store in London. They also have a YouTube channel. Don't go watch it now, but they do demos on YouTube. I went to a couple cool little independent shops, but they have Guitar Center in London, I guess, too. So that's something. But they also have, because here's the other thing: the reason everything's so expensive is the sales tax. Is the VAT is included in the price.
Yeah.
And it's like 18% or 20%. So you're basically, you're buying the same $250 guitar, except it's $320.
Right. Yeah, that was my experience in Germany. In general, food is cheap. Everything else, I can't afford.
Only essential food, though.
Oh yeah, I mean just going to the supermarket.
Yeah, loaf of bread,
cheap.
50 cents. Yeah. But like anything that's fancier, because in general, if you do the averages, I don't mean to be such an economist here. The United States pays less for our food than anywhere in any other developed country. We pay like 15% of our income on food, and Germany pays more like 20 something. And don't quote me on any of this.
Well, their food is much better, so they eat more.
There's that too, or they eat less food than we do.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Was at the Philly Guitar Show Saturday, saw 2 1959 Gibson Les Pauls and one 1960, priced at $330,000 and $430,000.
Oh.
We have a customer who may bring a 61 Les Paul in here for sale.
I thought it would be more than that for 69.
59, yeah.
59.
Yeah, 59 is the over the top, like
the Holy Grail, the Billy Gibbons, whatever.
Jimmy Page has a 59 probably.
No. I was just doing research on Woody's 175, which is from 67, and has the sticker PAF, which came after the original PAFs. And the price on that guitar with the earlier 175s, which had the real PAFs, not the sticker ones, was almost double.
Yeah.
Just because it had the pickups.
Just because the pickups were the
5,000 for this, or 10,000 because it's got those pickups.
Yeah, that's a little weird, but we're gonna play that game too here with guitar values. You just kind of have to. Some things are.
A local guitar collector many years ago came in and asked me if I had any old Gibson parts. He was looking for 59 parts.
Yeah.
And what was it? If I had any humbucker rings that were authentic 59s, he'd give me $500 each for them.
Yeah.
I didn't.
No. But you probably threw a couple out. Yeah, right. Because that's the other thing. I mean, I remember you did a big parts sell-off when eBay first became a thing in the early 2000s. You're like, oh, good. Now we can get rid of all this junk.
Right.
And just sold off a bunch of,
Yeah, some of it's worth some money now. But
crazy money now.
Who don't know?
61's an SG. No, this 61 it's less. So it's a deluxe that has humbucker. That looks like it was drilled for humbuckers and it has 2 P90s with rings around them. It's gold top.
Oh, is that the?
Don't say whose it is or anything.
I don't know. It's a woman.
Don't say whose it is.
Okay. Well, I heard you talking to somebody.
Don't say anything.
Okay.
This person's going to get robbed if people find out that this person
I
has
don't have a clue who it
has
is.
this guitar in their house. Are Gibson guitars overpriced?
Well, I've always thought they were. Not so much the jazz guitars. I mean, the Archtop, the L series and stuff. Those are pretty well worth what you pay for them.
Yeah.
Woody's 175, one of the best guitars I ever played. But Les Paul, that's why it costs more than a Strat. I don't really understand.
Yeah.
I mean, a little more because it's a set neck.
A little more workmanship involved,
it's, the
still,
top and stuff. But 3 times what a Strat costs.
Yeah.
I never got
They
it.
are a bit overpriced in the used market now, and sometimes they're a bargain. That's the weird thing. Those 125s, we had about 3 125s we sold here. They all sold for whatever, 16 to 2,000.
Right.
They were a bargain for what they were. Just great playing guitars,
Right.
great sounding guitars.
Yep.
So there's still bargains out there in the Gibson world. A B25 is going to be had for 1,000 to 1,500.
Yep.
So there are some of the ones that So there are some deals to be had for Gibsons,
right.
but not Les Pauls, and not in that era. Although it's a market thing, yeah. This, you can still find a really good Les Paul for $2,000, which is a lot of money. But
well, to me, it's all from the 70s, late 60s, 70s. All the rock stars were playing Les Pauls, pretty much, and that's when they gained a huge amount of popularity and demand was really high, and that's probably when Gibson started raising the price.
Yeah. Sometimes whatever it takes, is what they cost. Things cost what they cost,
Right.
If that's, they're not making money at Gibson. They just went through a bankruptcy or something, didn't they? Yeah.
Oh, did
they have to go chapter? I don't know. They had to do a reorganization. I thought. Remember, they got rid of the CEO. They sold off some useless brands. They either had a reorganization or a bankruptcy.
The guy from Levi's Jeans, they fired him already?
No, Janowitz or whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Well, this was that's years ago.
And that was a reorganization.
Who was CEO at Levi's, I think.
Yeah. And
he's going to, get the company backwards, make guitars, make amps, and that's it. And then they started buying other companies again.
But they have made some
trouble the first.
Yeah, no, yes, they made some slightly better decisions. I happen to know Martin's. What's his last name? The guy who invented blue microphones. Martin's. Just blew my mind. It blew my mind. Anyways, blue microphones are made in Lithuania or Estonia in a Baltic country. See, I didn't prepare the story ahead of time. Anyways, I know the guy. I met him who owns the company again and owned it. Then he sold it to Gibson for a lot of money,
right.
And Gibson sold it back to him for not a lot of money. Yeah, he made a bunch of money, but now he has blue back and he's trying to do innovative things with it.
You should tell Ned Steinberger. Maybe you can get his company back on it cheap.
A 61 Les Paul that is not in SG shape must be worth money for rarity. Yeah. So my guess is this was just kind of like, the serial number charts to 61. So, and all the serial number chart things. So we'd have to do some more deep research, I suppose. But my guess is because it has those strange humbucker sized rings around the P90s. Oops. Oh, Gary is going to pull down a book, the Gruen book. You can do your research on the internet, or you can just open the Gruen book.
This is faster.
So my guess is that it was, just some stuff that had left over when they were doing the transition to the SG stuff.
We don't want Archtop.
But I hate to say that even George Gruen doesn't know everything.
He knows more than everybody else.
Yeah. Buying Mesa Boogie made sense. All those companies, not other companies, not so much. So, yes, it made sense other than the fact that their amps are problematic lately. Their design, some of their redesigns, some of their newer designs, they did that thing where they don't ventilate it well enough. They stuff the circuit boards too heavy. It's when the designers don't actually solder. They just design and then they send it to a factory where they build the thing. There's just some practical issues that and Mesa Boogies are facing that lately. What's the other amp? Oh, they who bought Ampeg? Yamaha bought Ampeg. We've had several Ampeg, the new base rockets, come in for repair already. They've been out for a year. So, and one of them was just like DOA.
Special.
Speaking of Baltic, what's the tube scene? Well, they stopped making any Baltic tubes. That was Svetlana. That was in St. Petersburg. But the Russian-made tubes, so just so you know, the tube factory, I've talked about this before, it is owned by Electroharmonics, Soptech. And so they actually bought the factory for $1 million in the 90s, and which is worth a lot more now. And it makes the tubes for the world right now. Someone told me they stopped making Chinese 12AX7s. I don't know. I gotta like really research that. But anyways, because of sanctions, actually because of counter sanctions, what the Russians did when we introduced sanctions against them, they're like, okay, if we can't import this stuff, you can't import this stuff. And on that list of things were Russian-made tubes. So, however, tube inventories are fine. All the prices went up about 20%, maybe 30% on the Electroharmonic stuff because they had to get them shipped through an intermediary company. So I think they had to be shipped to Turkey and then they didn't tell me the details. But
I thought it was some guy smuggling them over the border.
Not like literally smuggling, but they're exported legally and then renationalized and exported in a third-party country. So tube supplies are fine right now. JJ is doing fine still. There are no new brands of Chinese tubes on the market. Yeah, so I don't know if they're making Chinese tubes for Chinese amps, that kind of thing, where if you buy the Little Bear preamp or something, if it has, or maybe they just have them. Because also Russians just had tubes sitting around I was buying them up until recently. I could buy 1960s RCA tubes in Russia that were just sitting around all these years. They didn't throw anything out. Soviet people lived under hardship, so they didn't throw anything out. Then there's the 90s, and they didn't throw anything out. And so,
according to George Gruen, the Les Paul shaped Les Paul was discontinued in late '59, or '60 rather.
'60. Yeah.
And the special, same thing, and the SG shape was introduced in early '61. So that tells us there's a few months there, probably including like January, February of '61.
Or it could be the very end of
some
'60.
Les Paul shapes. A few left the factory, and then somewhere in early '61, that was it.
Yeah,
or '60. Yeah, '61. Right. So that's what Gruen says, and he's mostly right. So
yeah, can't.
So that could be the real deal.
Can't quite argue with that. All right, let's see here.
Does it have the pickups? That's what we need to know.
Original pickups.
It's got the '59 PAFs originals,
but they're not PAFs because there is this. It's a deluxe.
So it's
or
P90s.
Special, P90s. Yeah.
Oh well. There goes $5,000.
I can't read this word. PSVANE. Svane tubes are made in China. Yeah. I could kind of believe them. They must still have a factory that makes tubes as well.
Yeah.
Not so good. I'd say if something comes with a Chinese tube in it, just yank it out and throw any other tube in it. It usually sounds better.
Usually better.
The little preamps that I used to buy, the ART preamps that are pretty handy. You can hear a 10% improvement in the sound. That little custom combo amp there, and So, let's see. I think we're caught up with the room. All right, and we're halfway through.
Yeah.
So this is the halfway through thing. This is Guitar Talk, where we sit here and talk about guitars, amps, guitar things, guitar repair, guitar neck sets, all sorts of guitar stuff. And just ask any questions in the chat, and we will answer them. Chime in the chat and say hi if you're just joining us, and just so we know you're out there and that we're doing this for a reason. Let's see here. So I got a free Yamaha 310 today. On a related note, any tips on gluing a broken neck? The Yamaha 310. Which is this 310?
Mid-range.
Yeah.
Does it have an S on it?
Yeah.
310S? That would be a solid top.
Yeah.
It's not their cheapest guitar. It's
But yeah, so in gluing a neck back together, where is it broken? First of all, if it's a
Right.
headstock break and it's super clean, there's no like little shrapnel in there. And if you can close that up, so just clamp it, and see if it will close right back up. And if it will, you could probably glue it with
Type bond.
Type Bond. Type Bond 2 is what I use.
Yeah.
Not 3.
Right.
1. Some people still use 1. Some people insist on high glue, but high glue. The great thing about Type Bond is it really takes up no space, whereas high glue actually takes up some space, and so we gotta. That's why you do this thing called glue fitting, where you before you actually fit and things together with you actually have to glue the surfaces and prepare them to like take the glue, just so you know that. So there is a so I would use Type Bond, especially on a Yamaha. That's probably what they're made out of. Is it red label or not? I guess that's the big question in the Yamaha world.
310. I was assuming it's a newer guitar.
Yeah, I would think so too. But if it doesn't close right up, then you got to get in there and pick out those little bits, and then you might have to do an epoxy repair, because an epoxy is a filler that's harder than wood, and sometimes
if it's broken right off and there's pieces missing, it gets really complicated.
Yeah. I've done some strange repairs, but
we know people that have splined in wood.
Yeah, you might have to do that. Up by the headstock, 2nd fret, aligned almost to the nut.
So it's the neck itself.
Yeah.
So presumably it's not broken.
But just at the end of the
try not to get any glue on the truss rod, and just glue it back together.
Yeah. Let's see here. Hogan's Hideout's back. Dave Friedman from Friedman Amps likes Chinese preamp tubes and recommends them. Okay. And then but they have different gain characteristics because they're distinctly different. Maybe in his designs, they actually go well. They're kind of lower gain. So it's possible. Maybe in his amps that makes them sound good, or maybe he likes them in Marshalls or something. But because I kind of like the JJ, the ECC 83, which is a little different. The contemporary 12X7 is actually that's manufactured by Electro Harmonics in Russia. Is actually a Russian tube that was changed into a 12X7. It's not exactly the vintage 12X7.
Yeah.
So vintage 12X7s do sound really different too, and probably the Chinese 12X7s sound different than the Russian-made ones. I will say for the Russian-made ones, they're a sturdy tube. They last ever, and they sound good throughout their lifespan. And they even sound good when they go bad. Even when they're microphonic and crappy, they still work. It's but it's a little higher gain, definitely in the gain structure, the preamp, which a lot of people are going for. Who does your price tag stamping? It's great. Tell us about the price tag stamps.
Well, I don't do it anymore.
No,
but I did. One of my main criteria for opening a retail business was the prices of everything were very obvious. I've always hated going into stores and like, well, this is cool. How much is it?
Yeah.
I can't find it. Is there a sign on the wall? Excuse me, how much is this? Well, let me look it up.
Yeah.
And then I've lost interest. Thought for a while I did the cards that fit between the strings, but that's just too much trouble. Every time somebody plays a guitar, you got to get the thing back in there. So I come up with the idea of taking a business card, and I had my stamp kit from when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's the important part.
I had to clean that up and get an ink pad, but then I started just stamping them.
So they're all hand stamped.
Right. And it's an interesting challenge because based on the size of the letters in the stamp kit and the size of the card, you have roughly 8 letters you can put on there.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
If there's an M, there's only 5.
Yeah, M takes up that vintage M takes up a lot of room. That's for sure, because it is a stamp kit from the early '60s or something, right? Must be.
I think it's older than that.
Yeah, you got it.
It was old when I got it in the '60s. So it led to all kinds of interesting challenges. And okay, what can I say about this guitar in 8 letters?
Yeah. And so we all take turns making the hang tags, and although Gary doesn't want to make them anymore.
Well, I will, just for old time's sake. But Jake and Emma seem to enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I don't think they enjoy doing it, but I force them to do it usually. I don't enjoy doing it myself.
Oh.
But,
Well, see, I used to like to get over here on the counter,
Yeah.
have like 6 guitars ready
Yeah,
to go, and
just stamp them
do
all
them
up.
all.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's this. I'm going to say this about this one. And
Okay, so I bought a new Beetle bass copy. What flat bass strings would you recommend? And then Mike chimed in and said Labella for Beetle bass. I love them. So yes, Labella is the choice for a lot of Beetle bass players. Ironically, not for Paul McCartney.
what's he use?
He uses like DR or some crappy string. It's funny. The endorsements he does are just like right out the window sometimes. Yeah. Like he does that, like he did, that Yamaha bass for years. The
Right.
Yamaha, in the 70s, he used the Yamaha Rickenbacker bass he used forever.
Yeah.
Try getting tone out of a Rickenbacker.
I couldn't generally manage
But
that.
you got to be Paul McCartney to make it happen. So there's that. I actually use the chromes from D'Addario. I like the fact they're slightly bright. But Labella is. We would sell Labella if we could. I met the owner of the company at the NAMM show, and then we had a great conversation for 15, 20 minutes. He's like, definitely, he's like, we'll say, so we, met up and exchanged numbers. And it turns out the dealer cost is like $1 less than you can buy them at Just Strings or something,
Right.
So it just was like, no way we could buy them and sell them for a price that wouldn't shock
They
people
won't even
when they
pay
came
for
there.
their wall space.
Yeah. So we don't sell Labella here. I did actually. I just tried out some Ernie Ball flat wounds on my 7/8 Fender, which I showed here a couple weeks ago when Peter Squires was here. So I'll give a report on those too. I'm gonna try those out. $1,000 Epiphone J45 with a cracked neck at the joint is $250 off. Good deal or a new one? So not a good deal if it's cracked at the neck joint. Well,
you mean the heel?
Yeah, probably the heel. Yeah. So if it's probably it's cracked like right where there's a
right.
Yeah, right around there is pretty common.
Yeah. Well, that's again,
If
it's a clean break.
Yeah, you can squirt some glue in there and clamp it. And it might be
clamp.
worth.
Take the strings off, see if you can close it up with your hands or a clamp.
Yeah,
if you can, glue it.
But she's probably in the store. That's why she's asking.
Right.
So
well, still, you can loosen the strings and push on it.
Yeah.
So
at the neck. So is it separated?
Is it up here at the headstock?
The headstock, is that what you're talking about?
Not down here, but up here.
Doesn't McCartney use Maxima strings? Well, maybe now. Like I said, he did. He used to do endorsements for another string brand. I had to look it up. But he doesn't use the Labellas. I do know that. I use round wounds on my Hofner bass, so there.
I use round wounds on every bass.
And this is why. I'll tell you why, folks. Because it does have that great Hofner sound. But once you put round flat wounds on a woody bass anyways, like a Hofner or Dan Electro, you're just committed to that one sound. You get one sound. It is one of the greatest sounds ever. But if you show up at a gig with a Hofner bass and you got to play like punk rock or you got to play, I don't know what, something
most styles of
music, you need a little bit of brightness.
Don't do it.
And you will never get brightness out of those strings no matter what you do. No matter how much you crank the high end on your amp or whatever. It just ain't there. You can't turn up something that isn't there.
My experience is just one of those things that guitar players and bass players have to try.
She says not separated. So it has a crack, but you can just see a crack. Sometimes the crack can be in the finish.
Right. Well, you got to try to, gently, but not too gently force it.
Yank on it. See if you can make it move.
If it's not too bad, you can just push some glue in there, some tight bond in there, get a sponge, wipe it off, clamp it somewhere, tape it if you have to, and it might be fine.
So Chris Paul says round wound equals chainsaw sound on a Hofner. Yeah, well, that's it. Come on over. We'll have dueling Hofners. Yeah, we'll do it because I tell you where the tone is, folks. Right here. That's where the tone is.
That's a good part of it.
The hook, right? You know the story of the hook, right?
Jimmy Jamerson.
Yeah. Played with one damn finger on one hand. Sounded and played more notes than you ever heard.
Some guy on TV talking about Jameson, and claimed that his great sound and style was because he only played with one finger.
Yeah.
There's that space between every note
Mm-hmm.
that most of us don't have because we're
Because you're
using
just
he has dum, 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 dum.
Yeah.
So every note is clear, distinct.
No, that was and being an upright player too, just
Right.
probably coming from that world.
Right. Made perfect sense.
So Margaret's asking if it's a 250 off is a reasonable deal. I'd say no, only because if you got to buy it and then repair it, it might need a $250 repair.
Yeah.
And then you have a repaired guitar, and a repaired guitar is worth 3/4 of what a guitar that hasn't been broken is worth. So if you're paying 3/4 of 250 off is 3/4 of the value, you might just be breaking even.
If it's at a music store, I would say, well, you guys fix it.
You guys fix
And
it.
if it comes out good, I'll pay you the $1,000.
Or not the 1,000, pay them the 750. I'll take the 250 off, but you guys fix it before I.
Well, either way.
Yeah, because there is a little bit of liability you take on when you buy something broken.
Right.
Yeah,
that's something like that here. We would not even offer it to anybody until we
we would fix
either
it.
fix it or say it's unfixable. You can have it for $100.
That's
you
a
go
little.
fix it. But it sounds like they might have got stuck with it somehow.
Mm-hmm. Jamerson was the best. That's good. If anyone doesn't know the details on that, look it up. He was the bass player in most of the 60s Motown stuff, probably 70% of it, I'd say.
Yeah, well, it depends on if you ask Carol Kay or not.
Oh, don't even start me on that one. I do believe that she is amazing, but anyways. There's a YouTube video out there. Jamerson's playing on 2 different versions of Grapevine, completely different T lines, both perfect. Yeah, he improvised his lines, I think, while he's playing them.
I gave up trying to. It's too much for me. But you can't really learn them.
Yeah, right, because they're constantly changing.
Grapevine was one of them.
Yeah.
I got through the first verse. Okay, I got it. I can do this. And figured I had it.
Yeah.
I let the rest of the song play. It's different on the second. And it's different
on the third verse. Yeah. His playing was just divine improvisation.
Right.
Not divine intervention, divine improvisation.
So the key to don't learn to play what he played, just learn to play like he played.
Chris Paul says all of our bass tracks were with flats. Okay. But you were playing through some bright amps probably. And not like you had the greatest sonically sounding records back in the 80s. But flats are all right. Also, Chris, I think your bass player played Rickenbacker too, right? Is that true? So a Rickenbacker and flat wounds might be a good combination. Here's a bass with no low end. We'll put some low end strings on. Garrett just winced.
Give me the shivers.
Yeah, because that's what Paul McCartney did, I suppose, and he did all right with it for quite a few years. So maybe that's the magic combination.
I did play one good Rickenbacker. It was whatever the first year they came out, 63.
Yeah.
After playing, and working on hundreds of them and hating everything.
No, yeah, right.
I restrung this one, played and went, what? This sounds pretty good. Geez, it feels all right too. So.
A jazz bass, yeah. Oh, Chris said, Jim said they sounded like he was playing with but cotton balls. But it sounded like he played it with cotton balls, yeah. So he's playing with punk rock with a pick. But see, the thing about punk rock also is it's punk rock. You just do whatever you want because it's punk. So playing the most punk thing you can do in a punk band is not using a P bass with round wounds.
Well, there's also, I'm trying to think of a punk musician that I've known, and we've known a fair number around here who really had any feelings about tone. Tone was never really an issue.
Just
volume,
getting loud, yeah.
Presence,
being heard, yeah. So that's why you need to compete with that guitar. Yeah.
But the punk rock guitar players I've known, they don't come in and go, "Oh, let's try a different pickup. I don't like the sound of this one." And it distorts. That's all I care about.
Wow, that sounds cool.
You got any louder pickups?
There's a bit of that, but also when we talk about a punk rock bass, and I'm not an authority, but it really has to cover the whole song. The punk rock guitar is that wall of something.
Right.
So the melodies are in the bass, and the movement is in the bass, and even so you have to have that little high end click to make up for the guitar being so low end. So the guitar and the bass kind of trade places a little bit.
Kind of.
There's so much low end in punk guitar and so much high end in punk bass.
I'm sure if, your typical punk trio, if the guitar player stops playing, hardly matters. One of the other two guys stops,
Like
That's
it's
it.
just
The
over. The
song's
song
over.
is over. Yeah, the bass of the drums and stuff. Yeah,
Can't go on.
it's just like nothing's gonna happen. Yeah. Have you seen the interview with Hal Blaine and him saying that Carol lives in her own reality? Yeah, I believe a little bit. So her some of her claims are not. Yeah, she did play on some Motown stuff for sure, but she claimed, and they did like. Now it's just maybe it's just her memory. I think because I heard about this recently too. Like there were some Motown's productions that were done for films where they had the LA band, the
Session guys.
yeah, those Hal Blaine's group there
Right.
playing on them. But they weren't the biggest Motown hits. So there's like a Stevie Wonder song that has them on it instead of the Motown band or whatever. So they did play on some early Motown as well, but not according to some people. It's like, oh, they just sent us all the stuff and we redid the music on it. That's not true. You can't take away from Jamerson like that. B-Bass knows tone, that's for sure, and B-Face uses a P-Bass with round wounds. That was
I'm sorry,
Chris.
who knows?
Chris Lamb said B-Face. You know
Oh,
B-Face, yeah.
Oh.
B-Face definitely is a great bass player, but man, he's got that gnarly round wound sound with a sideways pick, and
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying they sound bad. They have
No. I'm saying that's
sound.
that's the thing.
It's just not really one of their main.
If the band was B-Face and the drummer, that'd be fine.
Right.
And that's why in that era of the Queers, if Joe stopped playing guitar, no big deal.
Right.
Because the bass carried the
Right.
thing, but we don't want to get too.
Just my experience in maintaining and selling them stuff. Tone was really an issue.
I have to been trying to play bass lately a lot. A long-time guitar player, I find it difficult to keep it simple. Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's so as a guitarist, I'll say this: as a guitarist, you're like, hey, I can play bass because I know where all the notes are. I can do this, and that's how I started playing bass too. Like, damn, the bass player quit. I got a bass. I'll play it. Or let me. I think I borrowed someone's bass before I even owned one or something. Give me that thing. I think I know my way around on this, and you don't. You got to play it from a different direction, and it occupies a different space if you do it well. So it is a progression. I remember the day I figured out how to play bass. Still remember it. In my basement, as probably I was still a teenager, but in the very early '90s, playing along with the band's Brown record.
Right.
I was playing "Look Out Cleveland." Look out, Cleveland. I was like, oh, that's what's. Before I was just playing root notes, like, oh, the bass is the counterpoint. The bass is, doesn't have to go with everything else.
Right.
You can do something with it. And so that's the journey.
Well, the first piece of advice I always give guitar players who want to take up bass is do not play it like you play your guitar. Don't play guitar on bass. It's not the same thing. Play bass on bass.
Listen to Kay's playing on Mel Torme's Games People Play. Great playing. I don't want to take a bit away from her on her playing. She played some amazing bass lines in the Beach Boys, although Brian did tell her what to play. But, not even, some of the stuff that she did in the 60s was incredible. And she did Motown stuff later when they moved to L.A., for sure. She did the Jackson 5, right?
I don't know for sure. I'm familiar with the overlap story of Carol playing in Detroit with sessions Jamerson couldn't make.
Yeah.
And the quote was from one of the keyboard players was asked about it. He said, man, we were doing at least 9 songs a day.
Yeah.
I don't know who played on what. Bass, Jamerson, Carol was there. I don't know if Babbitt was there back then.
Babbitt's on a lot, yeah.
Sometimes somebody else would play bass. A guitar player would pick up a bass.
Hi, friends. Do you set up pickup height by measurement or sound?
No, I'd never measure that.
Yeah, sound,
Sound.
And match them to each other, get them, optimize them, and then you got to tweak them back and forth. Fender does have an optimal measurement that they recommend, but
right. So my best tip on pickup height is start low, drop them way down till obviously it's not sounding right, and just start working them up till it sounds right. Hopefully you'll get there before you get too close to the strings, but you kind of want as much string space between the string and the pickup as possible.
Yeah.
Find that sweet spot.
Nick says, I got serious hearing damage from a Mike Watt show in 1995. Yes. Mike Watt. Mike Watt was a Seattle area bass player, was in a bunch of bands.
Wow.
He just crazy loud SVTs. I've seen him play. I think he played like an EBO at one time.
With the Mudbucker,
Yeah.
30K of output, whatever they were.
Oh, the video of Carol Kane showing Gene Simmons bass lines. Yes, that's on YouTube. You can see it where she's showing him how to play bass, and he wants to teach her something, and it's like he's not teaching her. Right? He thought they were trading licks, but she was like having pity on this kid. Play short scale bass will help. Yeah, if you're a guitar player, short scale bass is a little less of a.
Doesn't sound as good.
Hey. Are you familiar with the bridge muting that Carol and James did? Yep. Big piece of foam sometimes, tape, and also muting at the bridge. Fender basses under that cover, there was a mute built in, wasn't there?
Sometimes glued to the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was kind of Fender's way. That's kind of. So people would take the cover off and then throw muting material underneath the.
Right. You experiment. Just pull it under the string so it's hitting it. Or get a Rickenbacker. They have them.
For someone learning to do setups following the manufacturer's specs and measuring is great. Yeah, I suppose. Or yeah.
But to me, it gets you in the ballpark.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
The issue is not so. New guitars is hardly an issue at all because they're all basically the same.
Yeah.
But a used guitar, no two are the same. The fretware is all different. The neck's all different. You can get 3 millimeters here and 7 there on one guitar, and the next guitar doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
So, you can use the measurements to see if you're in the ballpark, and then use your ear, use your feel. You'll know when it's right and wrong.
Yeah, learn it and experiment on your own instruments because you're going to screw up the first 10 to 20 that you do.
At least.
Yeah. So you just screw up your own guitars.
Yeah.
Just experimenting with it and getting to. I met a guy who was a brilliant guitarist and decided to refret his own guitar, and he screwed that thing up so bad because he thought he was an engineer or something, just a really smart guy, a great guitarist.
Right.
He's like, I don't know, I don't understand why this didn't work. It's like, under professional supervision only. Mike Watt breaks bass strings. Yeah, he played a Gibson live, and he was a signature reverend. He had a reverend signature. He said he needs a 30-inch scale live. His hands can't handle a 34 scale anymore. Yeah, so he embodied the grunge era, and that's kind of it could be a neck thing too, because Cam likes he bought one of those shorter scale Gibsons,
right?
Because just because he screwed himself up with his neck.
Kinds of weird problems.
So it's more comfortable to play short scale basses for sure. And then Mike Watt kind of holds his bass down in a weird way too.
Yeah.
I think.
Was he in a Seattle band?
Yes, the band he was best known for is someone shouted out.
Would I know the name?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
No, it wasn't one of the big bands, but it was one of the bands that all the bands listened to.
Right.
Like it was like a seminal Seattle grunge era band. The Minutemen. Yeah, there we go.
Wow.
Yeah. I can recommend the foam that comes with a set of pickups like Seymour Duncan packaging for muting. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I've used different kinds of foam. I use that foam that comes to a point on it, like a sound deadening foam. I would cut off the top, like in studios, when no one was
one for each string, sort of.
Yeah, no, not one for each string, but like it would just barely, like it would kind of like the top of it. Yes, it was wider at the bottom than the top.
Right.
And so you had.
Some people use a scrunchie at the nut. Does sort of the same thing, just slightly different.
L.A. band, yes. The Fire Hose was the other band he was in.
Oh.
L.A. band, yeah, I guess, but a lot of those L.A. bands move. I gotta read the Wikipedia on that. I remember him in Seattle, literally. I lived in Seattle for a while, and he was around. So there's that. Let's see. Everyone chimed in with the Minutemen. I guess I just have the worst memory ever. See if there's anyone else where I want to check out something like a Dan Electro bass. Love Joey Spampinato. Did I say that right?
Spampinato.
Yeah. That's the 30-inch scale. We happen to have one right here. It's not the exact Joey bass, but It comes with round wounds on it, but you can put whatever you want on it if you buy it.
And I think
This
he plays
is
with a
the
pick
short
mostly.
horn. Yeah, he played with a pick and flat wounds, but the 30-inch Dan Electro scale is unique. Not a lot of radius on the neck. The lipstick pickups, of course. The metal nut is standard. Get a little brightness out of that. And these repros are really good.
They are good.
I have the short horn myself. I got the long horn and the short horn. So there.
You mentioning or hearing Joey Spampanato and Rick Danko
Yeah.
in the last 10 minutes made me think they were pretty similar bassists. And
Rick
their
Danko,
counterpoint stuff,
Mm-hmm.
their feel. Rick was obviously a bit more folky, I guess, bluesy, but
All right, now things are heating up out there in the discussion. Scrunchy at the nut is a good one.
Yeah.
No, that's another way to do it. Paul used a sponge. Yep. On the bridge around Let It Be. And if you've seen the
I use this.
yeah, the meat on the side of your hand.
Cool.
Yeah, just let's set that down and do that. Yeah.
It's there when you want it, and
Yeah,
it's not when you don't.
exactly. There's that. Yeah, palm muting. Yeah, if you watch the Get Back movie, Paul was struggling with the bass sound the entire time. When the engineers were giving him crap during the recording, which is mostly Glenn Johns, but then George Martin went out and was like trying to mess him with his amp too. He's like, yeah, there's something not going on here. I think it was because they were using that Fender amp. Sorry, he was using a Bassman with the big 212 cab. Yeah. There's a B15 on the other side of the room. I saw it, and I was like, just plug into the B15.
I remember.
That's all you need.
Telling my wife, wait, look at what's over there. You know what that is, right? Yeah. That's
why is it?
Yeah, they got shipped it. Somebody shipped it to them, and they didn't even bother to try it, I think.
Yeah, we had the baritone guitar here from Dan Electro because Michael just mentioned that. Old Stingrays and Ricks have built-in adjustable mutes on the bridges. Yeah, so I never messed around with the Idiot Box effects. I don't know those. Yeah, but speaking of Idiot Box, you wasted another perfectly good hour watching Guitar Talk. We're done for today. We'll be back next week with a special guest. I think it's Adam Sharp.
Next week?
Yeah. He'll be coming in hot at about 6:10. So I'm going to start by myself.
Adam's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's always an interesting conversation when I and Adam get together and start complaining about stuff. So that will be fun.
Is he the same age as you?
Roughly.
I
Yeah.
remember you guys were, late teens, started hanging around the store about the same time.
But we have two. We actually were past diverged and then came back together. We both live in Kittery and whatever now.
Right.
Careers, minor careers in music. All right. So thanks everyone for joining. Hit the like and subscribe, which I should have said an hour ago, but didn't. And just, that just helps YouTube know that we're cool. Watch the other videos. There'll be another small amp video coming up this week. I've done 4 so far. It's a little series going.
Was that the Gretsch Gadabout one I watched?
I had the Gadabout one. The next one will be a Dan Electro branded amp. And so check out that. And thanks for watching. Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Stand by for the end.
I'll sit by for the end.
Say goodnight, Gary.
Okay, good night.